economy, data is one of the most valuable assets. But how can organizations share data while keeping full control? The International Data Spaces Association, or IDSA, is a global nonprofit that sets standards for trusted data spaces, secure environments where organizations exchange data while preserving sovereignty. With over 170 members across 31 countries, IDSA is driving interoperable and secure data ecosystems worldwide. A data space uses a federated architecture, meaning data stays where it is. There is no central storage and no vendor lock-in. Through common specifications and protocols, participants can publish data, negotiate usage terms, and exchange information securely and transparently. In Malaysia, the IDSA Hub, inaugurated in 2024, is facilitated by Digital Connect Society, a member of Malaysian Technical Standards Forum Berhad and a technical committee member of Department of Standards Malaysia. Together, we are enabling trusted collaboration, protecting data sovereignty, and shaping a smarter digital future.
Stretch what you got, give me your best and I won't turn you down. 'Cause you're always out to impress. 'Cause you're always out to impress. You're always out to impress. This is the highlight, nothing bragging us. Good parts, this is the best time. To be young, the reborn, live like we're gonna die. Do things we never done before. This is the highlight, the highlight.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Unboxed². I'm your host, Stephen Poon. I'm so excited you are here. This live podcast was created with one goal in mind: to bring you meaningful conversations, fresh perspectives, and stories that inspire, challenge, and empower. Whether you are tuning in during your morning commute, your workout, or winding down at the end of the day, thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. That truly means a lot. Here's on Unboxed², we will be diving into entrepreneurship, personal growth, innovation, culture, wellness, marketplace, and creativity, featuring insightful guests, practical takeaways, and honest discussion you won't hear anywhere else. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit from the conversations. Your support helps this community grow, so sit back and let's get started. Once again, welcome to the midday shows. What a good afternoon to all the audience out there. Unboxed² series is organized by Policy, Research, and Engagement Community from Digital Connect Society and supported by Mila University. In this inaugural series, we explore the intersection of ethical AI, emotional intelligence, and human-centered leadership in a world increasingly shaped by technology. By helping to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we get to discover two handpicked SDGs enabling progress toward the SDGs 9. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. It is one of the 17 United Nations goals focusing on developing quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure, enhancing technological capabilities, and increasing the share of the industry to employ and GDP. And the second, SDG 16, to promote peaceful, inclusive societies, ensure access to justice for all, and build effective, accountable institutions by 2030. Key targets including reducing violence, combating trafficking, curbing corruption, of course, yes, and ensuring legal identity for all. Where this episode, we will take this dialogue coinciding with International Women's Day as awareness grows around gender equality and women's achievements. More people are tuning to these days. AI-powered give ideas and digital tools to personalize their celebration meaningfully. So, artificial intelligence is increasingly being used to recommend thoughtful presence, create inclusive workplace events, and amplify advocacy campaigns, making this annual moment not only symbolic but also technologically enhanced. Right. This episode discussing ethic AI, emotional intelligence, and human-centered leadership, challenging leaders to embed real values into technology and reimagining accountable, empathetic leadership that serves people, community, and our shared future. Yes, our inaugural topic discussion for today, beyond performative ethics, building human values into AI and leadership. Our special guest for today, a leading voice in emotional intelligence, ethical leadership, and human-centered AI, with over 2 decades of experience as a psychology instructor. She works at the intersection of education, technology, and values-driven system. She is the founder of TAEI Academy, which stands for the Advancement of Empathy and Integrity, and the creator of the SOUL operating procedure, a values-based framework used in school, organization, and policy discussion to strengthen emotional awareness, ethical decision-making, and human accountability. Her work addresses the psychological and moral risks of emotionally intelligent technologies, including AI designed for influence, attachment, and behavior shaping. And award-winning writer, as well as creator of the ethical intelligence, she integrates empathy, integrity, and emotional awareness into education, leadership, and AI. Author of The God We Are Building, which is you can see from the screen now. She advances value-based system rooted in love through peace, right contact, and non-violent. So let us welcome our first guest for this inaugural livecast, Dr. Milan Devirabri.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate you inviting
Milan.
me today.
It's an honor to have you to be here, and also I'm also aware that you are in this part of the world at the moment. So yeah, wow, today is a beautiful day. You can see morning sun, very nice. I went out to the market this early morning. I had a good sun. What about you? How's your morning?
If it were any better, I wouldn't believe it myself.
Well, there's a lot of things can be done, isn't it? Especially for this slot, which is before we get into the noon. Of course, now we are in the noon. So yes, let's look at this. The book, just know, which is you have published. I think lately there was a really good book. I have gone through that. So would you like to just bring us through a little bit, a very short, which is intro about the book, what actually is all about, and also. I think the audience wanted to know as well, because I have shared this with some of my colleagues. They find it. I think the title of the book is really catchy. So it's something like a bit religious, but not really actually. But you need to get into the context. So would you like to bring us through a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So the God We Are Building is really just about the human condition as it is humans are already at the altar of money, fame, and power. So now we have decided to build this new God. And since we're already on our knees, this is the God that is completely hijacked our attention. And attention is, of course, as you are aware, the new commodity. And AI is the thing that is going to either put us in a space in this reality of awareness and awakening, or we are going to fall asleep at the wheel. But currently, as it stands, and the way that the trajectory is moving, we are more than likely going to be using this as another altar position. And that's really what it is. You know, humans tend to latch onto the latest and the greatest thing. And when we have a tool that no longer requires us to think and is completely devoted to our thoughts and our confirmation bias, how could we not become enamored with this shiny new God? So this is going to be very, very problematic long term. And we've already seen this become a problem with parasocial relationships, which is something that I work with in the realm of psychology. And you know, we could get into more of that, but that's kind of the overview. We live in a
Great, thank
world.
you. Yeah, I think this is quite good, and also I like the way you say the shiny god. This is coming to my, because I can visualize how the shiny god looks like. But this is really nice to how you put it in this way. Okay, I think also this is the book is also getting me to a little bit of attention, and also as one of the reasons also I invited you for this live today, and also sharing the thought with the audience. I have discussed with some of my colleagues also about this, which is this area, AI ethic. So I think you are the really right person to bring us through this together. Okay, Milan, let's set. I would like to set a scene before we get into the discussion. Thanks for the great this intro about the book, which is the God is Building Us. Okay, to move beyond performative ethics, where values are merely started rather than practiced, organizations must transition toward human-centered leadership that actively embeds emotional intelligence, which is EI, into the design and deployment of AI systems. This shift requires viewing technology not just as a tool for efficiency, but as a system that must be intentionally aligned with the human dignity and collective well-being. For instance, first of all, the intersection of values and system. Building values into the future starts with moving past surface level commitments to deep systemic integration. Secondly, strategy for value-based future shaping. By integrating these human-centric strategies, organizations can ensure that the AI revolution revitalizes society and elevates human dignity rather than undermining it. So, Milan, moving beyond declaration, how do you ensure AI ethics principles are actually implemented in the product lifecycle rather than just documented as a policy?
Well, I'm going to give you the truth, and that's never going to happen.
Okay.
That is never going to happen.
Why?
We don't have, because we have a morality problem.
Okay. A human, yes. Go on.
The world has a morality problem. And as capitalism is the driving force behind most things, and our narratives of life are completely scripted by politics, religion, culture, whatever, money, fame, power, doesn't make any difference, your parents, until we realize that we are in a moral apocalypse, there is not one conversation that you and I can have, whether it's about AI or poverty or sex trafficking. None of it's going to change. None of it, because we have a morality problem. So the foundational rot, and we keep having these conversations and politely posting the air with misting the air with memes and hashtags and hoping that somehow that removes the stench of our moral failings. But that's where we need to start. So we can talk about policy and how we need to change things, but here's the thing. AI is nothing more than a reflection of the collective. It's you, it's me, it's all of us. And so everything that we dump into AI, every thought, every impulsive question, idea, what the kids are doing these days where they're having AI count to 1 million, like all of that stuff is being dumped into AI. So we are creating the ethical dilemma. So
They also create an illusion, just like I come across quite a few videos. I thought it was a real one. Then I found out it was created by AI. It was absolutely it's just flawless. You couldn't see the differences between the actual human factors or the AI factors. Okay, Milan, let's look at the measuring what matters. Beyond standard AI efficiency gains, what metrics do you use to measure human engagement, growth, and well-being?
Within AI or people? I'm not clear on that question.
Which is beyond the standard of the AI efficiency gains, which is on human. So, from your point of view, since you have practicing this quite a while, according to your profession. So, what metrics? I believe there is a metrics you use it as a measurement. So, what metrics do you use to measure human engagement, growth, and well-being? Is there any?
Well, I think the only metrics that matters, regardless of whatever you're talking about, comes down to the 5 values: love, truth, peace, right conduct, nonviolent. And do you have an integration? Do you have integrity? Are you in alignment with your thoughts, words, and deeds? Because otherwise, we're just talking about abstract ideas. We're just talking about, some Likert scale that somebody filled out, some personality profile, some research study. But true metrics and how we are moving forward as a society and how we are going to mitigate any kind of crisis, whether it's AI or some global crisis, comes again down to humanity. It comes down to who we are fundamentally as people. And I think, as I see it, and as I'm watching the world burn, again, I don't want to repeat the phrase, but we're in a massive morality deficit right now. We are morally bankrupt. And so until we start to understand, and we talk about emotional intelligence, and Daniel Goldman handed us that baton in 1995. And we're well beyond emotional intelligence. We need a new kind of intelligence that comes down to awareness and awakening. And until we move into that space, then all the rest of it is just defined human, again, narratives that come from the outside that don't really hold a truth to who we need to fundamentally be to make sure that we make it to the next generation. That's probably not the answer that you're looking for, but it really comes down to who we are. And if we don't figure that out, then there's going to be a million questions, and we're going to continue on the loop of asking them. And you're going to ask them to me today, and they're going to be asked 50 years from now, the exact same questions, because nobody is going to fundamentally change until we start to really excavate who we have become as people.
Milan, I think there's a reason I mean, it sounds to me this cannot be quantified. So that's the reason it's quite based on the subjectivity, according to what you just said. But from my point of view, the reason why these metrics need to be taken place because this has to be there's a few parties to come together, or probably more than a few, which is a stakeholder. We call this to work this out to come up with a measurement because we need to some kind of like. There's a reason for back to the first question I was asked you about the policy. So I'm looking at what is the stakeholder inclusion here. So how actually we as a community from all walks of life, everybody can involve, which is to come up with this. So and another point of view actually is I also concerned about how do you ensure diverse stakeholder input, especially from the affected community, is integrated into AI ethics decision.
Well, that's been a fundamental problem since the beginning, because the fact is that most of the people that are coding AI are a bunch of white men. So that is already non-inclusive. So you have biases already coded into the data, but also when you look at who has access to AI, who's using AI most, again, AI is a reflection of the collective. So now in the early stages, it was who was coding. Now it's what we're coding it to become. And so as a collective of the world, those who have access to AI are going to be the ones that are building the trajectory of how AI plays out. And we've already seen that. We saw that happen with Grok. Twitter became, or X, as I guess it's called these days, you know, was just hate. It was just filled with hate and rhetoric. And when Grok came out, Grok took all that data from Twitter and became this kind of neo-Nazi AI. So it's a reflection of the collective. So how do we make sure that marginalized people are included in the conversation? Well, they need to be the people in the boardrooms. We need ethicists sitting at real ethicists, not as somebody who's there as a token ethicist. Real conversations. You know, in my sole operating protocol, we have a checklist that they go through. But the thing is it's not profitable to be ethical. If it was profitable to be ethical, I would assume that many people would probably choose that route. But the fact is it's not, right? We know that because anyone who opens up a news page or a news feed or has any inkling of what's going on in the world or watches politics knows that ethics is not the driving force. So why would ethics be the driving force in AI? The thing that is now the race, and by the way, super intelligence is already available, but this quote unquote race to super intelligence, which we're already there. We have qubit technology, we have quantum technology, but we haven't told the public it's there because then that gets real scary. But the fact is it's already available. So, you know, it's this power play of who keeps leveling up AI. And do you really think that those people who are making billions and billions of dollars have marginalized communities sitting at the back of their mind going, I wonder what the lower income and the marginalized people think? They're not the people who are going to make sure that there's money in their pockets.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. I mean, again, attention is the new commodity. But when marginalized communities don't have access to the same technology, they can't, purchase AI, or they don't have a computer, they don't have a phone, or they're just not interested. There are a lot of people who are still not interested. They're afraid of AI. And fair enough. But those are the voices that are going to also feed the algorithms and the data, and they're not in there. So again, it's, we can have these conversations, and there's so many conferences that talk about AI ethics. And honestly, it's a bunch of BS because it's just a conversation. It's like, let's just put it on a PowerPoint, make it look pretty. Let's charge people to come to this conference. But the fact of the matter is we really aren't going to do anything about it. But thanks for joining us, because that's the end.
I think the blueprint is important. You reset the blueprint and then working together with the authority. Do you think this is still viable instead of just a lip service?
It's all lip service. Again, it comes down to capitalism. And the truth is,
money.
Is that
how do you monetize it?
It's a monetized thing. And the truth is that people genuinely know the risks and the dangers, but nobody wants to speak up about it because they're going to lose their jobs. They have a lot to lose by saying, there's a couple of people out there. There are a couple people out there that are speaking up against AI, just like there were a couple people that came out and spoke up against, social media. There was that documentary, Social Dilemma. And eventually there'll be a documentary that'll come out about AI. This is all coming out. But the thing is that lives are ruined when people start telling the truth. And you know that, I know that. So, people disappear. There's a lot of nefarious stuff.
Milan, you just mentioned the documentary film, so the Social Dilemma. I was actually showing the student 2 days ago about the film. Then it's a really good documentary. It's about the social media, and so how this AI impacts shaping the mindset of the young people today. So we had a discussion with the student. There was a really quick. It was quite an old film. I think 2020 was released. So it was a good one. I mean, just mentioned about the film. Okay, Milan, let's focus a little bit. Let's look at the education. Modern education reform is shifting from performative AI safeguards, often characterized by vague soft law, guidelines, and checkbox compliance, toward values-driven system that treat AI as a constitutive actor rather than just an external tool. So this evolution emphasizes the preservation of human agency and accountability as a foundational requirement for any AI integrated learning environment. So let's look at the challenging performative safeguards. Traditional AI guidelines are frequently criticized for being too generic or lacking actionable components tailored to local educational context. So reformers advocate for moving beyond this high-level principle to mandatory structural mechanism that's including the ethical impact assessments, which is EIA. So EIA, sorry, ethical impact assessment, EIA, yes. Transparency as explainability, rejecting automation as default. So the second point here is core values of responsible system. Advocates for reform propose a framework built on 4 pillars that protect the human essence of education. First, human agency and professional autonomy. Second, accountability and stewardship. Third, inclusivity and epistemic justice. The fourth is AI ethics literacy. So the next one is implementation frameworks. International bodies have a developed roadmap to translate these values into practice. First is UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI. Second, which is MOE AI ethics framework, which is from Singapore. And another one is Teach AI 7 principle, which is developed by Khan Academy and the World Economic Forum. So Milan, the checklist track, let's look at this. How do we ensure that AI ethics in our school isn't just ticking ethical boxes or adding add-on features, but is fundamentally built on the human values from the start?
So just about everything you mentioned is just white paper policy. It's like, let's slap this on the wall so we look like we're doing something. Because everyone knows there's a problem. So all of these wonderful organizations are creating these policies. But here's the problem with all of this stuff, these policies, is you cannot paper an education system that is fundamentally broken with new policy. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's like, I will liken it to the city of Venice that is sinking. And what do they keep doing? They keep building houses onto the sinking foundation. But the fact is the water level is going to continue to rise, and eventually there won't be a city. That's what I liken all of this to. The education system globally is broken. It has been for a really, really long time. There are very few pockets in the world that have meaningful education systems, and I can name about 3. And even they have their problems. But there's about 3 countries that are really working to get it right. But fundamentally, the education system globally is broken, and it is broken so badly that when you come in with some other policy or class or something that says, oh, look at how ethically and AI responsible we are. Listen, again, it's BS, because until you fix the foundational problem, this is just, it's just more lip service. It's just more dog and pony show. It's a circus. It's a circus with a little ringleader that goes, and and over here we have this, and over here we have this. But when you look at the circus floor, it's caving. So this is all honestly quite ridiculous, because right now the education system, and I've lived in Asia for a very, very, very long time, about 10 years of my adult life. So I'm very familiar with the Asian education system. I'm also very familiar with the Western education system, and across the board, they have the same problems, but the same problems layered with different problems. But fundamentally, the education system is across the board kind of the same. It's built on obedience and compliance. And while even in Malaysia, they are trying to implement emotional intelligence classes, it becomes another class. Emotional intelligence needs to be the foundation of education. Then math and science and English and whatever else you build on that, that's great. But until we start with the foundation of values and emotional intelligence and ethics as the foundation of every school, not as a class, but as a lived experience, then all the rest of this stuff that we're trying to just dump on there, and now especially with AI, you really think kids are listening to this? They're having their own little fun, and kids are so broken right now and so overwhelmed and so scared that they are actually reaching out to AI to support them. So kids are kids, like they go through these developmental stages. So if you don't give them these foundational tools when they are tinies and grow them throughout their educational experience, how do you expect some policy to be slapped on it and the kids go, oh yeah, totally got it, I'm gonna change my whole life trajectory? Like, that doesn't work like that. Kids don't work like that. People don't work like that. If it's not foundational, you're really wasting your time. And so I love the fact that there are literally millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars being pumped into AI ethics. But let's start with the problem. Let's not layer more problems. And that's what we're doing. So pretty paper and as flimsy as paper. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, okay. Right, Milan. Let's move it to the agency overall optimization, because you are looking at which is certain aspects. Just now you mentioned that. In what ways does this system prioritize learner, student, the young people, autonomy and democratic co-agency. We call this democratic co-agency instead of treating students as data points to be optimized.
I mean, I don't really know what else to say about that, because again, this is this is a foundational problem. So you're asking me questions that don't have any legs because the foundation's not fixed.
No, it's okay. I just look. We are looking for
Yeah.
your point of view as an expert.
Well, I mean, you have to start with the foundation. You know, everything becomes a data point. Everything becomes a researchable point. Everything, you know, ends up on a scale somewhere, and then someone uses that data point to say, "Hey, give me more funding." But when you are building over the foundational rot, you're never going to fix the problem. You're just going to keep slapping stucco and saying, look, we remodeled. It doesn't work like that. So AI ethics, AI policy, AI, how do we fix it? I'm not trying to be a pessimist, because I do think that people have their greatest capacity is their ability to change. We have the ability to change, but that starts with awareness and awakening. And until we do that, until we really fundamentally understand our sovereignty, our ability for choice, that we can live in an unscripted reality, then these are all just conversations that you are going to have over and over and over and over and over again, and the needle will never move. I mean, it'll move, but it's not going to be in the direction that we want it to move in. So that moral compass has to always be sitting at a high north. And right now, life is messy, and we are not teaching people how to cope and sustain with the stuff that is coming at them. So AI just ends up being an additional layer of stress. It's stress in the workplace, stress in education, stress in society. For me, you know, even with my university students, kids aren't even learning anymore because they're just dumping stuff into AI and then trying to pretend like they wrote it. And it's just like, okay, you know, we're not even thinking for, the point is, I'm saying is we're not even thinking for ourselves.
Exactly.
Anymore. So how is that going to play out to any of the questions, you know? Like if we can't even, if we have zero critical thinking ability, and all we are doing is relying on someone else to tell.
Exactly. You know, sometimes Mila, I was wondering, do I need to mark the assignments? When I look at this, where did you get this actually? If you come up from AI, right? Should I mark this actually? What am I marking? Am I marking something's done by humans or just done by the machine? So this is actually there's a lot of dependency behind that. Okay, I think this is a good point. You just make the remark about the dependency. Okay, let's look at the agency building versus dependency. Does the tool foster critical thinking and creativity, or does it encourage a passive acceptance of AI outputs that erodes a student's independent thought?
The answer to the question is yes. Yes to all of what you said. AI can be like any tool. It can be used for good or for bad, right? I personally have used AI, and it has had mind-blowing results, but I use it in a very specific way. I question my AI. I don't just assume that everything that it says to me is like, oh my God, that sounds perfect. Like, it doesn't. You know, I have coded. I've been using AI since the inception point, so it is.
Okay, quite a long way to back.
Quite a long way. So it is, but I'm actually going to be changing AIs because of what just happened with the was it $200 million contract that ChatGPT just signed. But anyway, that's another point. Another point. But AI can be used it can really help to develop critical thinking. It can help to develop creativity, but you've got to start with the idea. But if you're just like, give me a really good idea for a TV show, I don't know, yes, very generic, or I need to write a paper on personality theory, but if you're starting with, look, I'm really interested in understanding more about the big 5 personalities, and more specifically, and you're really going through, it can really kind of help you organize your thoughts. I mean, this is really meaningful, especially for somebody who might have ADD or ADHD. There's some really powerful components of AI that can really support. And I know for filmmakers, there's pros and cons to that too. There's been a lot in the film industry about how far AI will go to take jobs, but then at the same time, it's also really helping filmmakers to create worlds and ideas that they never thought possible. So it has this beautiful dichotomous reality. But the problem is that an AI within and of itself, and even if you ask AI, there are very few people using AI in a very structured, thoughtful way. Most people are just expecting AI to just give it the answers. Tell me how to live. What should I eat? How do I navigate my relationship? What should I write in my paper? They're not even, it's just like, and their brains shut off. So, and I think, unfortunately, when we talk about the population, I actually asked AI about this, specific to myself. I said, how many people, I know you can't give me a number, but would you say how many people are using AI like in the way that I do? And at the time, I'm sure maybe there's more now, but at the time when I asked it, it said, well, if I had to give you a number, which I can't give you an exact number. If I had to give you a number, I'd say in the world, it said 8,000.
Well, okay.
8,000.
Wow.
There's 8 billion people. So I was just like,
that's a lot. 8,000.
8,000 is a very small amount of people using AI in the way that I was using it. And I was like, well, that is problematic in and of itself. So just because, again, I'm the way that I use it is very specific. And again, I'm sure the number has grown, but not, we're still not at 4 billion, so the short answer, yes to all the above. It's how you use any tool, right? Are you a slave to it, or are you using it to somehow put your life in some sort of positive forward direction? The phone, this is a useful tool, but once you become a slave to it, it is not a useful tool.
Okay, Milan, let's look at how we handle the black box of AI while maintaining accountability. Conflict resolution, let's look at this. If an AI system suggests a decision that conflicts with your professional institution or ethical standards, so how would you proceed?
I'm not sure that I understand the question, but I think conflict resolution comes from understanding the principles of nonviolent communication. So until AI is completely trained on how to be a nonviolent communication mediator, that's pretty problematic. I'm not sure that I completely understand the question that you've asked me, because AI, again, is only as good as the data and the input that it's been given.
Okay, never mind. Milan, let's look at the self-regulation. In a high-pressure environment where data moves faster than human processing, how do you maintain your own emotional regulation to avoid reactive leadership?
We do not lose ourselves to technology. The technology becomes possible because we are already lost. So, And leadership is another one of those little buzzwords that we slap on a PowerPoint and go, and here's leadership and how to be an authentic leader. Again, it's just a bunch of garbage. It's just a bunch of garbage that we keep peddling to
Oops.
people to make sure that we can get some, you know, so we can get our conferences, so we can get our fees, our speakers' fees. What we need now is to learn how to get out of the pattern. That is the only way that leadership works. And the only way that authentic leadership works, again, is to get out of the pattern. But, you know, one of the things that I teach when I do leadership training is for people to look at their lives and look at how their plate is full before they start the day. And emotionally, we are so and I'm not going to say we, because I am not in that house anymore, but so many people are so overwhelmed with their lives and the stuff that they have to do, that it's really, really a struggle to be an authentic leader, because you can't even be an authentic human. So again, this is really foundational stuff that you're asking me. Like there's no fix up here until, I don't know if you can see me. There's no fix up here until you fix down here.
You know, that's the whole point of the discussion today. So we need to make sure that we have the strong foundation, like foundationally, and then we can progress to build all the way up. If we have a really wobbling foundation, so what is the point we're talking about advancing? So I think, of course, this is very important. Of course, your point of view is very significant for us to, which is to understand better how we progress, especially in this part of the world. Of course, Milan, I like the way how you skeptically to look at that point. So let's look at the trust building here. What strategies do you use to build trust in an environment where people are increasingly skeptical of data-driven monitoring?
Well, we have to, all of this starts with ourselves, right? Most of us don't even trust ourselves. We are so stuck in the loop of cycle and pattern, obedience, compliance, and approval, that we don't even trust our own intuition. And even when we want to say no, even when we do know that something's not right, oftentimes we often move forward, even at the expense of the belief in ourselves, our autonomy, and our sovereignty. So if we really want to talk about trust, we have to start by, again, excavating that plate. We need to start knowing that we have a voice and a choice. And that is something that globally is very, very hard for a lot of people, because we want to feel like we fit in. We want to feel like we have a tribe. We don't want to go against our loved ones. We don't want to go against our boss, you know, and the minute, and I've said this to someone before, the minute you say no, I mean, you just think about that. Imagine you will go up to your boss and you're like, no. It's like, imagine the reaction. Or you tell your parent that you love, no, I can't, that doesn't align with me anymore. What? Oh my God, you've changed.
Yeah.
We are
evolving.
Yeah. What's happened? Why are you abandoning me? So then all of a sudden we're taking on other people's trauma and narrative, and we're not living the truth and the trust of our own. So I think that's the biggest thing, Stephen. We really have to learn to trust ourselves before we can, for that to root, and just those roots to build that trunk of peace.
Our biggest enemy is our own self. So like what you just said. Which is what you are absolutely correct. We need to trust ourselves, and also the hardest to deal with the people is our own self as well, which is self. Self is the biggest enemy. Okay, Milan, thanks a lot for that. Actually, let's move on to implementation gap. To bridge the implementation gap, the space between the space between high-level ethical manifesto and the actual code, policy, and business decision that shape our world. Okay, again, yeah, metric replacement. I'm looking at this point. We often optimize for engagement or efficiency because they are easy to measure. How do you quantify human flourishing or dignity in a way that carries weight in a professional practice?
I don't know that it's specific to professional practice, but I can tell you that the data.
I mean, in your point of view, yeah, in your point of view.
We'll just say some overgeneralized data. So we know in the space of emotional intelligence that when you have emotionally intelligent leaders, your growth in sales goes up 20%. You have you have a higher retention, you have less turnover, happier people, full stop. So if you want to measure it in those kind of metrics, you're going to see those things. You're going to see growth. You're going to see people staying with your company for a long time. You're going to see smiles on their faces. Yay. And that fundamentally works kind of in life too, right? So happier people, more connected people, less divorce, less incarceration. I mean, like when you look at the world and we'll just use the United States as an example. The United States has the highest youth incarceration rate in the world. We have the first to the second highest incarceration rate in general in the world. That's not an accident. So, we also have a disproportionate addiction problem. So why is this happening? Well, this is happening because, one, this goes back to foundational, right? There's no emotional intelligence. We're not building things on the right things. So, and when you look at specifically Asian countries, like a country like Korea, they have one of the highest suicide rates.
Yeah.
So, when those things start to go back and we're not seeing people in one way or another self-harming, I think that's pretty darn good data that we are doing something right.
Okay, let's look at the transparency paradox here. Full transparency can sometimes be a shield for complexity. How do you provide meaningful transparency that empowers a non-technical user rather than overwhelming them?
Well, this transparency can only come from honesty, which can only come from truth, which can only come from inner the trust that you have within yourself, the trust that you have within the people that you surround yourself with. So transparency cannot be something unless you are willing to be honest. Because we can talk about transparency all day long, but this goes back to what I just said about when we're honest with people and we say, I don't like this, or no, or this doesn't align with me, or I'm not available. People glitch. They glitch hard. So how can we have transparency when in any form, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our personal relationships or our professional relationships, when we're not even willing to be honest with ourselves about how overloaded we are, much less having that transparency in policy, in productivity, in performance. So if you aren't willing to be honest, again, if you're not willing to be honest with yourself, then there is absolutely no way that you are going to be able to be completely transparent with anyone else. And transparency, when we're talking about AI policy and ethics, as I said at the very beginning, people who are completely transparent, bad things happen. When people start to be truly honest about what is happening and how it's happening and how it's going to be impacted, they get shut down. They disappear. Lots of things happen, and that's just an unfortunate side effect of honesty in this.
Yeah, this happened. Many case study out there.
Yeah. So it's, and I don't have a problem, speaking my mind, but, and maybe I'm on some sort of watch list. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is I don't have anything to lose, right? So, but when you
Yeah.
have a high-powered position, or you are in the heart of, uh, maybe your position in cybersecurity or AI ethics or something, and you start whistleblowing and telling the truth,
Yeah.
you're one
Well,
person. There's always somebody that is who is right behind you, ready to take your job and to keep their mouth shut. So how is transparency ever really going to get legs? I guess that's the
yeah.
question.
The truth is always ugly. Okay, let's look at the point. If the system you are building today become the permanent infrastructure of society for the next 50 years, would you be comfortable living in the world that create as a marginalized citizen rather than as its architect?
Uh, I'm not 100% sure that I understand that question. If I were to create a system, would I feel comfortable leaving the world
Yeah.
with what I've built?
Mhm.
Oh, 100%.
You trust yourself.
But here's the thing, Stephen, nobody's asking me to build it. So
No, I'm just twinkling you actually. Okay, thankfully you got it. Yeah, yes,
yeah,
it's meant to be that
no.
way.
I mean, if someone's like, hey, come along, could you just come in and make this happen? I'd be like, 100%.
Yeah,
But
it's just
but
an
also,
illusion. It's just an illusion. I mean, hypothetically, yes, of course. Okay, let's open up the questions. I think we have some poster question. Let's look at the poster question. Can we have the poster question display, please? Okay, the poster question here is how to address high unemployment among fresh graduates due to AI disruption. This is from the audience actually. Audience
yeah.
poster.
Again, we this is it's a pretty sticky thing. Again, we don't lose ourselves to technology. The technology becomes possible because we are already lost. I already said that. And this is really kind of fundamentally what is happening when we prioritize capitalism and technological growth over people. When we do anything, when we love things and use people, we've already lost, right? And I think what we are talking about is a foundational component where people in industry, corporations, are looking at how they can save money, the bottom line, how they can spend less. I mean, that's the goal, right? If you own a company, you don't want to spend a lot of money. So
Mhm.
you're looking at a prioritization over your funding and your the bottom line, basically, as opposed to the people. And that's fine short term, but I think long term, what companies are going to realize is that they're you're not going to get the same output when you keep
Mhm.
relying on AI. You're not going to get the same creativity. You're not going to get the same ideas. And so I
Mhm.
think, unfortunately, the unfortunate answer to that is that the system's going to have to crash and burn a little bit before people, it's always like the pendulum always swings, right? It always swings to one side really, really hard, and then it eventually comes back. And I think that's what's going to happen. But right now there isn't necessarily an answer. It's really up to corporations to prioritize people and say we
Mhm.
actually need people, and let AI be the support team, not the team, not the A team, and then let people be the B team. But this is what's happening, and it's not just happening in corporations. It's happening even in personal relationships. At the beginning, I had mentioned the parasocial
Mhm.
relationships, and
Mhm.
people are really creating this over dependence on AI, and they
Mhm.
do not realize the implications And I am talking very, very long-term bad stuff that is going to come from that. So, unfortunately, the best thing I can say is you're going to have to wait it out, because the pendulum will swing back. But right now, there's not an answer until we start asking these big corporations to have some more accountability, and ask them why they're prioritizing. But at the end of the day, the answer is always the same. It's the bottom line. It's all about the money.
Yeah, I think referring to what you have just mentioned, yes, exactly. I think come to the point, we need to have some kind of a blueprint. So I think back to the beginning, we discussed about the policy. I think stakeholder, they need to be in order to take place. Then it's easier for things to be measurable. Put it this way. Okay, exactly. Milan, I can't believe our time is flying so fast. And let's take our dialogue to the next level. Okay, to reimagine leadership for an AI integrated future, leaders must shift from traditional command and control models to becoming social technical stewards. This evolution centers on the synergy between machine-driven precision and uniquely human depth to serve people and community. So first, emotional intelligent leadership, which is EQ plus AI. And in an age where AI handles data-driven tasks, emotional intelligence, which is EQ, becomes the primary differentiator for exceptional leaders. Second, ethically grounded stewardship. Ethical leadership in the AI era is no longer just about compliance. It is about embedding values into the design and deployment of technology. So intentionally design collective future. Let's look at this point. Leadership is now a design challenge. Intentionally building systems that amplify human potential rather than replacing it. So from the transition gap, as AI takes over routine data tasks, how will you reinvest that, save time to deepen your team's emotional and professional growth?
Well, I think again, I'm repeating myself, but I think this has to go back to education. This needs, from the time a tiny child goes to school, this needs to be a foundation of every education system. And if we can't go all the way back to when they're 2, 3, 4, 5 in the education system, preschool, kindergarten, from first grade all the way up, this needs to be foundational core curriculum, not one class, but multiple classes on emotional intelligence for every industry. So when we're going to school for marketing, we need to have those classes. When we're getting our MBA, we need to have those classes. Especially teachers, when we go to get our teaching degree, we need to have those implemented and embedded, because there are ways that we can infuse emotional intelligence into every faction of our life, including curriculum. It's not just a side class where we're like, oh, we have our emotional intelligence class. No. How do we teach math with emotional intelligence? How do we teach science with emotional intelligence? How do we teach English with emotional intelligence? All of that can be done. You do not need a separate class. That is insane. I don't even know why people are wasting their money. It's not even figure out. I can tell you how to do it. But there's a way that we can implement it into every single thing that we do. And I think for leadership, the same with corporations, as I'm explaining this with education, implementing it into math classes, science classes, it needs to be the same with corporations. How are we implementing emotional intelligence from the moment our employees get to school?
Okay, Mia.
Work. When they get to work. So it has to, real leadership starts with the minute and emotionally intelligent leadership starts from the minute our employees walk through the door.
Okay, Milan, thanks for reiterated, which is the point, because I try to make sure that we have a strong emphasis on this point. Okay, earlier on we talked about the black boxes. So I'm still looking at this transparency and accountability. I still have some curiosity in my mind. How do you ensure that algorithmic decisions are transparent to the people they affect, especially when those systems are black boxes?
I can't, I mean, I don't have a better answer for you because, you know, we can, for example, my sole operating protocol, I literally could tell every company on this planet, every Claude, ChatGPT, all of them, I could tell them how to implement this through policy, through governable policy. I could tell them how to do it. The challenge becomes, and again, I've already said this, the challenge becomes ethics is not profitable. If it was profitable, not everybody would be doing it because some people just like being bad. But I think people would probably choose to be ethical. So
Yeah.
the transparency part is it's a very utopian ideology. It's just not going to happen because we do not have the guiding morality and principles to be honest, to be truthful, to tell people what it is and why it is. I mean, look at the conspiracy. Look, a great thing. They just came out with I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, I don't even know. Aliens are real. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, how long have we been talking about this as a human? So stuff just, people tell us what they want to tell us, the governments, societies, our parents. Think about Santa Claus. How old were you or as a child? Not maybe you, but I didn't learn that Santa Claus was not real until like we're spoon-fed information as humans, as on an as needed basis, right? And a lot of it is very much hidden in plain sight, and we just choose not to look at it. And that is also very strategic. And that's another whole entire conversation. But, I mean, the transparency part, first of all, a lot of it is being told to us. We've just chose to ignore it. But the other part of that is, again, the people who really do come out and share the real meat and potatoes of what is happening, it becomes very problematic.
Okay, there is some comment. Well, not really kind of questions, but how do you see this point of view from the audience? Can shaping the human values among adults already becoming challenging nowadays? What's more to the young people, vulnerable groups?
Yeah, that's a true story. True story. And you're right. It is. As I imagine a future, and as this person is probably imagining the future, it's not exactly bright. It's probably a little dark and sad. And it really is going to start with excavating education. And as I shared with you at the very, very beginning, there are some education programs around the world that are really trying to implement this on a foundational level. And it can be done. But the problem is that all education systems are built to make us compliant, obedient humans. If you look at...
Yeah, agree.
And if education started teaching us, as it should, to be choice-driven, sovereignty-driven, aware and awake, it would fracture the capitalistic system. Because as soon as people start realizing they have a choice and they don't have to be beholden to the man or to this, or I don't have to listen to you, but it's like I need to listen to myself, right? Which is very different. It's, that one is 5 years old, one is evolved. But that is not something that education systems are going to want to teach, because it does not keep us suppressed as a society. And people who are suppressed are far more easy to manipulate. So you want to change the world, you start with the education system, but you need to push against the government, and the government would really rather suppress you and have you moving through their narrative as opposed to the one that you would choose.
Yeah, exactly. Cultivated by the education and approved by the authority and endorsed by the industry. So this is
Hmm.
the triangulation. Okay, let's look at the human-centric transformation. Um, how will you measure success for an AI augmented team? Does your definition include employee well-being and sense of purpose?
Well, I think anytime, I mean, take the AI out of it. I think anytime you have any sort of well-being, whether you're already in the asset, right? You're not in the
Yeah, in
deficit.
the
I think
phenomenon.
that's yeah, that should be the goal. The goal should always be inner peace and sovereignty. It's the goal for everyone, or happiness, as some religions call it, enlightenment or moksha, or
Yeah,
whatever. I mean,
exactly.
you choose a word. But I think that's the goal for all. So the
Mhm,
more we can move the needle towards people feeling supported and connected, the
mhm.
less we are going to be reliant on AI for the things that we shouldn't be
Uh-huh.
reliant on AI for.
Mhm,
And that comes from, again, not just authentic leadership, but authentic companies. Again, from the
mhm.
minute you walk into a school, a business, your own home, like, how are you showing up for each other? And that's going to be the true mark of where we need to go, because right now we are moving so far away from connection, so far away from connection. We are very connected, but we are not. And so the more
Yeah,
lonely that people become, they're
exactly.
gonna, you know and especially in countries where you're, like here in Malaysia, what is your work hours? 48 hours
A
minimum,
week.
plus your required 1 hour of lunch. So now you're at 50, well, whatever 48 plus 8 is. So
Well, no,
52.
no, not really
So,
apply for
so
all companies.
plus your
Not
commute,
48
plus
hours.
yeah, I mean, you're not working that time, but you have
Yeah,
mandatory, breaks that you have to
yeah.
take and stuff. So, a lot of our time is hijacked by things that do not actually bring us connection. And so
Yeah,
we're kind
exactly.
of we're kind of scrambling for that. And
Yeah.
even with children, they're in the education system. I don't know necessarily about Malaysia, but I know when I was living in Korea, children were in school from basically 7:30 to 11 p.m. at night, right? So
Mhm.
this is not offering connection. This is offering uh, captivity. So we,
Okay.
we just have to
Yeah,
figure out
yeah.
a way to
Uh,
circle back to
yeah.
connection.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Milan. Oh, thank you so much for being here with us. It is absolute my pleasure as well as privilege. Thank you, Milan.
Thank you for having me. I hope it was meaningful. Certainly if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm always available on LinkedIn. That is one of the best places to reach out to me. And if you want more information, if you want me to do talks, if you want me to help you get yourself unscripted, I can certainly support that.
Well, Milan, after today, many audience will contact me. Trust me. So I will let you know about this. Okay. Thank you very much, Milan. This is really my pleasure. I know that you are very busy. I know that you have a lot of things that have involving many projects in this part of the world. So, really a pleasure to have you on board. And this is for our first episode. You opened up a very wonderful chapter for us. And thank you very much. And really a pleasure. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Wow. There's a few things which is on my notes here. Let's have a little food for thought here. And also some of the research I have done the previous weeks according to the topic we discussed earlier on with Milan. And some of the things which is I like to share with everybody here in 2026, this year especially, the intersection of ethical AI, emotional intelligence, and human-centered leadership has evolved from a theoretical discussion into a practical foundation for future policy development, which is Milan has just mentioned about that. So which is I taken notes on what she said. Contemporary governance is shifting from static checklists to adaptive frameworks that embed real human values directly into the AI development pipeline. So core policy pillars for 2026. This is according to my findings and also my so-called my forecast. First, human-centric accountability. Policy now mandate that the buck stop with human, particularly for high-risk decision in healthcare, finance, and hiring. This includes establishing AI ethics review boards to oversee sensitive use cases and ensure automated system amplify rather than diminish human judgment. Second, operationalized empathy. Emerging compassionate AI policies that empathy as a strategic imperative. These frameworks require proactive management of the psychological impact of automation, including mandatory reskilling initiative and maintaining human oversight for decisions affecting livelihoods. Third, dynamic and global governance. To keep pace with rapidly evolving models, regulators are adopting risk-based real-time testing grounds like sandboxes and harmonizing standards across borders to address the global nature of AI data flows. Fourth, radical transparency, which is we talked about that earlier on. Beyond explaining how a model works, 2026 policy demand explainability tailored to diverse stakeholders. This includes simplified interfaces for citizens and deep dive diagnostics for regulators, ensuring technology services as a transparent partner to society. So, audience, a couple of hypothetical questions for you to think it over when we go away today. First, how can leaders move beyond performative ethics to truly embed human values into AI and technology systems? Second, what does emotionally intelligent, ethically grounded leadership look like in a technology-driven world? Think about it. So there's no definite answer, but it's all based on the individual as how you interpret toward the surrounding. Here we are. Unboxed² series is organized by Policy Research and Engagement Committee from Digital Connect Society and supported by Mila University. Till then, take care and each other. Have a nice weekend.